Hey, welcome back to Diode Press, I'm Graham. So I've been accumulating printmaking tools for a while, and I decided it's time to finally get them all organized. If you see my other video on my printmaking toolbox, I have one drawer in there that has all my mezzotint tools, and they're nicely organized. They have a nice pocket for each one. So I want to do something for the rest of my printmaking tools. And you can do the same thing. It doesn't have to be with printmaking tools, really anything that you want to store and keep organized. And so you could use, instead of a toolbox, like an old cigar box, and you could just use the inside and go through the exact same steps and keep whatever you want secure. And for this tool drawer, I used much simpler, readily available materials than I did for the previous one. So if you expand the description box for this video, I have a link to a blog post, and I have additional information as well as a list of all the supplies you'll need to make your own. And so let's get right to making it. I'm building the tool storage into the drawer of my toolbox. I want to build 2 layers of storage. I'm using 1/8" thick plywood that I got from the hobby shop. To raise the panel off the bottom of the drawer, I'm using strips of 1" wood and cutting them to fit around the base of the drawer. Now a quick test fit and everything's looking good so far. I wanted my tool sharpening stroke to fit in vertically, but it was just a tiny bit too big, but that's nothing a little bit of sawing can't fix. And now it fits in there perfectly. I wasn't sure how I wanted to arrange the tools, so after a little trial and error, I managed to get them all to fit in there nicely. So the bottom layer is going to have my lino cut tools and my engraving tools on the right, and then my sharpening strokes will fit on the left. The top layer is going to be my woodcut tools, so I have my dockyard micro tools on the right, as well as my large U-gouge, and then on the left are my more traditional woodcut tools. At this point, I decided to make a divider to keep the compartments all separate. So I used my woodcut tools to carve a slot to hold this panel in place. These will all be glued together, but I wanted to make sure everything stays in place. I also wanted the divider to extend up to the top level of the drawer, so I marked off where the panel meets the drawer on the sides, and then scored and carved the channel. Now I can cut the panels to fit inside of these areas. I also played around with different tool layouts to find something that I liked. Next, I cut 2 finger holes in the end of the panel so I can easily pull it out. And now it's time to cut the foam sheets to fit the panel. This is flexible 1/8" thick foam sheeting available at most craft stores. Depending on the depth of your tools or whatever you're storing, and the compartment you're putting it in, you'll need to figure out how many layers of foam you want or need in there. In this case, I'm using 1 layer to build up the bottom, and then a thin layer of gray foam to serve as the layer the tools actually sit on and to also kind of look nice, and then 2 more layers of the thick black foam to cradle the tools. I cut them all to the same size and then test fit them all inside the box. Now I realized at this point that the handle of the large U-gouge was too tall, but I wanted the other tools to sit where they were. So I cut the gray foam out in the shape of the tool, as well as the bottom layer of foam. After test fitting, even this wasn't enough room for the large handle, as you can see here. So the only thing left to do was carve out a little bit of the wood support panel below to accommodate the handle of the tool. I couldn't lower the whole shelf since I needed the room underneath to fit the engraving tools. And now I can start gluing. Here I'm using regular tacky glue. Since I don't have great ventilation where I'm working and it's snowing outside, I can't use a stronger spray adhesive. I was worried this wasn't going to provide a strong enough bond, but once it fully dried, the panels are really permanently stuck together, so I think it's fine for me at least. There are many types of glues that'll work. Just make sure whatever you use is called out as foam safe. Lots of glues will eat right through foam. Then I add a gray layer to the base panel. Next I glue together 2 layers of black foam. This will be the foam that cradles the tools from the sides. So to recap here, I have my base wood panel, a layer of black foam, and a layer of gray foam all glued together. Then I have 2 layers of black foam glued together. I'll need to cut out all my tool slots before gluing these 2 stacks together, so these will need to dry overnight under a book to keep them all flat. The next day, when everything's dried, I test fit the U-gouge. It's a perfect fit. If I press it on the blade, I can push the handle out really easily. Now I mark the position of all the other tools in the compartment with a pencil, and then carefully cut them out with an X-Acto blade. And now you can see why I didn't glue this stack of panels to the base panels yet, so I can easily cut out and adjust the size. I also cut out the finger holes and beveled the edges of the foam. Now it's time to add glue to the back of this panel and glue it down to the others and put them aside to dry. The next panel is much simpler for the traditional woodcut tools. I glued 2 layers of black foam together and then marked and cut out rectangles for the tools. I didn't want to have to worry about what tool goes in what slot, so I just made them all big enough for my largest tool. Then I used a straight edge and beveled the edges of the foam so I can easily grab the tools. Also, this cleans up the little flyaways that happen when you cut through the foam. And always make sure you're using a sharp blade to get a nice clean cut through the foam. Finally, the engraving tool drawer was the most difficult to cut. I used 3 layers of the black foam glued together and marked the layout of all the tools with a pencil. Then I carefully cut them all out just like the others. And finally, the last step was to bevel all the edges just like the other panels. And now I can drop this panel into the drawer and put in some tools. As you can see, I have a lot of different printmaking tools here, but now that I have a pocket made, each one is protected, and I know exactly where to find it. And so that was a really fun project, kind of got all my tools organized, and it was really pretty easy to make. And you don't have to make it as complicated with the different layers, you can just do a simple 1 layer if you want. So make sure to let me know down in the comment box what you think, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And again, I'll have a link in the description box to a blog post with all the information as well as the list of materials to make this on your own. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up when I post more videos, and hit the thumbs up if you like the video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.